I saw Franklin Roosevelt myself once. Several years ago, he was on the campaign trail, traveling around making speeches. And I thought he looked mighty fine up there on the platform. He was all friendly and self-controlled. I said to myself, he's got my ticket.
In October 1932, Franklin Delano Roosevelt toured America, campaigning for the presidency. In the face of the worst depression America had ever known, he offered hope, promising a new deal for the American people. "We have nothing to fear," he would say, "but fear itself." But how successful would his New Deal prove in tackling the challenges ahead? This program reconstructs the testimonies of 3 Americans who witnessed the Roosevelt years. Their words survive because at the end of the decade, they were interviewed by the Federal Writers Project, an oral history project paid for by the U.S. government. 10,000 Americans were interviewed in all, their lives, their experiences written down, filed away in the Library of Congress. 10,000 American voices. This is Newburyport, Massachusetts, a coastal town north of Boston. It's a comfortable place. It's always been a comfortable place, at least on the surface. But in the 1930s, the Depression found victims here too, like anywhere. Myron Buxton, a draftsman, was one of them.
Yeah, I used to be on the town payroll. I did surveying work. Yeah, I did the sewers. Yeah. And then the crash came along. They made the cutbacks, and the work just dried up. I was looking after my sick mother at that time. My whole life started slipping backwards. That wasn't just me. I could name you people, educated people, who lost their jobs, found themselves with nothing. You got to learn. There's 2 kinds of folks in this world. The folks on top, and then there's the rest of us.
In early 1933, when Roosevelt came to power, there were 13 million unemployed in America. The banks were in collapse, workers and bosses in conflict. America's farmers were suffering. The outgoing president, Herbert Hoover, had argued against government intervention, even in such times of crisis. He thought of Americans as rugged individualists, thriving best on their own. But America had seen the results of this philosophy. After 3 years of depression, the joke went, Americans weren't so much rugged as ragged.
I mean, this country was like a runaway train. You can't let a nation of this size go running wild and not expect to dent the track somewhere. I mean, we all thought the time had come. We needed some kind of planning just to stay on the rails.
I, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
Roosevelt swept to power because he promised to get involved, to use the power of the government to solve the crisis.
I will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States, so help me God.
His administration began with a flurry of activity. Emergency bills pushed through Congress to restore confidence in the shattered system. $1 billion loaned to private banks, loans for the farmers, loans for homeowners threatened with eviction because of their debts. And because hunger was not debatable, there was relief at last for the unemployed. $500 million in 1933 alone. And the first of many job creation schemes, 4 million people taken from the breadlines, recruited into a vast labor army. Under military discipline, they exchanged civilian life for work in the national parks. In return, they received $1 a day.
Exactly 8 o'clock. Say, where's my other sock? I've got a job, so help me, Bob. I've got to get up and go to work. Must be there on the dot. I hope my coffee's hot. Bring on those eggs, those scrambled eggs. I've got to get up and go to work.
Within 3 years, New Deal agencies employed 8 million Americans on public works projects. In Newburyport, Myron Buxton found work locally with the WPA, the Work Projects Administration. It was they who built the wall around the town cemetery. It was they who planted the trees, giving shade to the main street. Many of the sidewalks in the town still bear their mark. Myron Buxton was based on the first floor of this building on Federal Street.
This used to be a fire station horse house. The smell's not too bad, as long as you don't go opening that trap in the floor. This is where the boys come each day for the work roster. Sometimes it's not much on, maybe shoveling leaves or shifting rubble for some building contractor, but sometimes we have a project on, like the high school, which everybody around here is so proud of. Brick by brick, we built that. Didn't cost the city a cent.
In all, across America, the WPA built 116,000 buildings, 78,000 bridges, and 650,000 miles of road. In part, the idea was economic. If you give people work, they have money to spend, so the economy gets moving. But also, Roosevelt believed in the dignity of labor. He knew how unemployment dragged people down. He saw it as the government's duty to provide the means for people to earn their keep.
Today, depression is a fading memory. Millions of men and women have found employment, and with it confidence and hope.